Good evening. The April 2nd, 2025 meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Education will come to order. As is our practice, this meeting will be recorded. I note that Superintendent McGee is joining us remotely this evening. The board provides remote access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Assembly Bill AB 2449, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. Thank you to our interpreters, Ana Cruz and Kimberly Larios, for joining us remotely. For meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, click on the interpretation button on the menu bar. We ask all speakers to be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. I ask board members to speak directly into the microphone and remind speakers wearing masks to remove their masks when speaking in order to be clearly heard by all attendees. Item 1B is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the agenda made by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0 and the agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs, as well as on the table outside the boardroom in both English and Spanish. If there are speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreters, Ms. Cruz and Ms. Larios, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comment for topics not included on the approved agenda. The County Board of Education does not act upon any matter that has not been agendized, except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the County Board to refer matters raised in this forum to the superintendent for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Superintendent McGee, do we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting?
We do not.
Thank you. Speakers are invited to make live comment and have 3 minutes to speak. The board's executive assistant, Jennifer Perna, will keep the time and advise when the speaker has 30 seconds left. Please keep within the time limits. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raise hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once the hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Superintendent McGee. Superintendent McGee, are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time?
We have one hand raised, and that is Janice Pellizzari. Janice, give me 1 second to promote you. And I think you are all set to speak. I think you do have to unmute.
Thank you. Good evening, President Torres, Board Trustee, Superintendent McGee. I want to start with a shout out to Jennifer Perna and Sarah Hopkins. I heard Mary McCardle had called earlier about access to the board meetings, and she said within minutes it was taken care of and she was able to will be able to get on to the board meeting tonight with ease. Secondly, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about stuff on the agenda, however, I want to give shout outs to all my members and the staff and the leaders at ACC and K-22. I look forward to seeing all their efforts shining tonight. Lastly, fourth quarter started with a lot of changes, staff movement, new techniques to engage and work with kids at Gateway. But the kids are adapting well and things are running smoothly. I just wanted to put that in there. I know it hasn't been easy for everybody. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and let people know things are going okay there right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Superintendent McGee, are there any submitted cards?
I do not believe we have any submitted cards tonight.
Thank you. A public comment addressing a specific agenda item will be heard after the board's questions, comments, and discussion on the item. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, please use the raise hand feature when the item is announced, or if in person, submit a card in advance of the item. Item 3A is the ceremonial swearing in of the new San Mateo County Board of Education member, Edith Arias. I now have the pleasure of administering the oath of or affirmation of office. Will Board Member Arias please join me in the middle of the room? Testing, there we go. So you can raise your right hand and then I will read it and then you can repeat it.
I, Edith Arias, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties which I'm about to enter. Thank you.
Now we are moving on to item 4A. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 19th, 2025 regular board meeting as presented? Is there a second? Thank you. There is a motion to approve the minutes of the March 19th, 2025 regular board meeting made by Trustee O'Neill and a second by Trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the minutes of the March 19th, 2025 regular board meeting.
I
have
would
been
like
approved.
to recuse myself since I wasn't present for the minutes.
Oh, yes. So the motion will pass with a vote of 6-0. And the minutes of the March 19th, 2025 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 5 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. An item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second, is there a second? Thank you. There is a motion to approve the consent agenda made by Trustee O'Neill and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0 and the consent agenda has been approved. For item 6A, Amarco Chavez, Deputy Superintendent, Educational Services Division, will provide a report on the impact on recent federal policies on school districts in the county. Deputy Superintendent Chavez.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, President Torres, members of the board, Superintendent McGee. Welcome and congratulations, Trustee Arias. Yes, I'm happy to be here and share information on the impact of some of these recent policies and actions from the federal government as it relates and impacts our education system. I Before I get into the presentation, I want to share and kind of preface the presentation. There's a lot of information, a lot of messaging that is coming out of Washington, D.C., from executive orders to policies and interpretation of policies. And so the presentation this evening was in collaboration and with guidance or research from Capital Advisors, for example, the California County Superintendents Association, as well as the California Department of Education. And several of my colleagues that sit in core cabinet, we participate in a lot of organizations and that convenes people from across the state. So all of that information I organized in this presentation to try to distill it or focus it on some of these policies that directly impact education. And then also that at the end of the presentation, you may have more questions. You may have more areas of interest as it relates to some of these policies. And so I'll welcome the feedback, and perhaps in the future, we can have an update on some of these, the policies in the presentation. So I want to start with some of the headlines or topics that I'm going to share with you, information that I'm going to share with you today. And really, as it relates to the executive orders that President Donald Trump has signed, the immigration enforcement policies that and directives from his office, as well as the information around the dismantling of the Department of Education. And so we've been hearing a lot of information around that. We also, a few weeks ago, Congress passed and the president signed the continuing resolution as it relates to the budget for this fiscal year and the impacts of that for the following fiscal year. And then some economic impacts as it relates to our county and in California specifically. So we'll start with the executive orders. And just again, to give you a little context, as of March 26th of this year, over 100 executive orders were signed by President Trump. And in the last few days, I think there's several additional executive orders that were signed. And so with the executive orders, we know that they don't override federal law or statute, but as they're being signed and communicated out, they do have a lot of gray areas and a lot of areas that are subject to interpretation that have raised a lot of questions, and in some cases they're being challenged in the courts. What the White House has said specifically related to education is that there's some federal programs that will not be that will remain the same, specifically around the Individuals with Disabilities Act, IDEA, Title I that funds low-income schools, and the federal student loan payments. The communication again from the White House was that those would remain the same. As it relates to additional federal dollars, clear communication that federal dollars cannot be used for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs or programs promoting gender identity. And as you can imagine, that causes an impact to our education system. There's a lot of conversations and challenging these interpretations of the law. And the impact on funding is that some universities, some programs that have DEI elements to them have been informed that they will not receive federal funds. So that certainly has an impact. Continuing with the executive orders, again, this is advice or recommendations from Capital Advisors, as well as the California Department of Education legal team. And they're recommending that local education agencies or school districts really pause on making big budget action or taking action on our budgets, because there's still a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that need to be clarified in terms of funding. So right now, we remain vigilant, we remain alert, but in terms of the funding, it appears that it's not going to significantly change. So we want to not jump into taking actions. With the continuing resolution, there are some programs in the budget that, especially as it relates to the Department of Education, that will remain the same because they're written into statute. However, there are other programs where there is some flexibility, and the administration has that flexibility to, while they have a full amount dedicated to that program, there is a discretion of moving some of those funds within the program according to the needs that they see or their recommendations. So there's that flexibility that will happen, and I'll share a little bit more on when we'll have more clarity on what that will look like in a few slides from now. One of the things that worries us as an education agency and as educators is the impact and the funding cuts that have been communicated to programs that indirectly support our education system, that indirectly support our school programs, such as the Health and Human Services Agency, universities, partners like the Lawrence Hall of Science, and all of these agencies again, they provide services, essential services to our families, like the Health and Human Services Agency, Medicaid. They provide mental health resources. Head Start is another topic right now, actually, as of, I want to say, last couple of days. So there's a lot of instability and insecurity and a lot of heightened stress and anxiety around some of these cuts. And moving a little bit into some of the immigration enforcement, we knew from even through the campaign that there were certain groups that were felt nervous and were feeling targeted. And so now moving into these last few months, the protected areas policy that protected schools, places of worship, hospitals, clinics, for example, that was rescinded. And so again, parents, from what we're hearing as we work directly with our school districts and community partners, that there is heightened fear, that there are parents keeping students from going to school because of possible raids, because of possible separation of the families. There's worries of our youth that are applying for financial aid, completing the FAFSA. If you're undocumented, there's a worry of submitting all this information and that it lands in the hands of someone that could affect them negatively. And again, the separation of families, that we have mixed status families, and parents are worried, what if I'm at work and I get detained, and then what happens to my child that's in school? So as a County Office of Education, we are working with partners like Faith in Action or the Immigrant Legal Resource Information Center, excuse me, to deliver information to our families, to our community members on laws that protect them, constitutional laws that protect them as individuals, to decrease the anxiety, to communicate the importance of sending students to school, to communicate that some school districts do have, or I would say most of our school districts in San Mateo County have protocols on what to do in the event that an agent was to come on campus. So there's a lot of work around that, but again, policy that affects education. And the dismantling of the Department of Education, again, there's a lot of conversation around that, but I wanted to highlight Public Law 9688 from the Elementary and Secondary Education Act that actually created the Department of Education. It is written into legislation and some staffing requirements, some specific staff. So to close the Department of Education would take an act of Congress. However, what we're seeing is that there's a reduction and staff is being dismissed. There is the reduction in force messaging that they want to decrease staffing by 50% of the Department of Education. So as you can imagine, that causes possible the delivery of services at a much slower rate, possible inefficiencies. There's a lot of indirect impacts to our schools and districts. Legal experts, for example, that are responsible for protecting student rights and guiding our states were also dismissed. The Office of Civil Rights has also decreased. And so while there are requirements around Title IX or interpretation of what Title IX should be now, it's the Office of Civil Rights, who usually was the office that did the investigations and provided guidance, there will be less staff there. And finally, another example was the National Center for Education Statistics. That one has been reduced from 100 people to 3. And this department is known for, or this center is known for the National Assessment of Education Progress, the national assessment that kind of gives our nation an average of where students are at different grade levels in different content areas. And so with that, I mean, that's important information that we use. So possibly that will change. And regarding the continuing resolution, that one for me was new. So I did a lot of research and try to like really figure out what does it mean. And so the continuing resolution was reached between Congress and the White House. And then the recommendation or the communication is that generally the funding for education will remain the same, will remain flat for the remainder of this fiscal year, that the federal fiscal year ends September 30th. So that will remain the same. Historically, well, in this case, the continuing resolution did not contain an explanatory statement. Historically, when an explanatory statement is included, it guides what the funding will be for each program in more detailed form. When there hasn't been historically, they would just go to the previous fiscal year and kind of allocate the same amount. What may happen this year is that because there isn't that explanatory guidance, that there is a flexibility, like I said, for some programs that are not written in statute. Title I, for example, is written, so that one will remain the same. But other programs, they will get the allocation, but the administration has that discretion of moving some of the funding within that program. So, for example, one that comes to mind is post-secondary education. That's one that will be significantly, might be adjusted. Well, they're going to get the same allocation. They can decide, or the administration can decide, oh, we're probably going to move less money to, let's say, historically, to colleges that historical Black colleges that will fund those less, or will fund those more, or will fund this research less and will fund this program more. So they have that flexibility within that allocation. And then something else that's important to note is that the Department of Education has around about 45 days, which will be around April 28th, where they will have to submit an operating plan. And that operating plan has to, at that point, have the very specifics for each program for the budget, right? The budget for that program, very specific. So we will know around that time exactly what the funding will look like for all the programs. The other interesting piece around this is that because federal programs some federal programs are forward funded, which means that they receive their funding on July 1st. Usually on July 1st, that budget will be set. And so the allocations will remain for the 25-26 school year or fiscal year. Okay. A lot of information there. Okay. And so as it relates to more local, more California, some of the things that we're looking at and we're considering as it relates to funding and maybe that will indirectly impact our schools and districts is, for example, First Five California, First Five San Mateo County. They're projecting significant reduction in revenue due to the tobacco costs tax. Sorry. San Mateo County's vehicle license fee revenue is down or is projected to be less. So we know that San Mateo County is considering these projections. County, cities, and school insurance groups see huge rate spikes. We know that the fires, the catastrophic fires, have had an impact on insurance groups, as well as some of the settlements related to abuse liability cases. And also the prediction of just our national economic outlook. We know that tariffs will have an impact. We don't know to what degree. We know that stock market. So this is what the advisors are sharing. So it feels like a roller coaster. And then I won't read this in detail, but the summary is that there's minimal changes in funding as we're hearing for the education for our education system from the federal government. However, we know that the reductions of some of the programs, the staffing, that has an impact on our system. Again, that the executive orders are don't override federal and statute. And states and agencies are challenging them. So we will wait and see what where things will land. And then again, the minimal fiscal adjustments to education for at least through September 2025. But the message is that for 25-26, those funding amounts will be the same. So it feels like there's a lot of wires, a lot of things that we need to untangle, that we need to straighten. So I felt that this picture captured that, and Jared Prohl actually shared it with me, so give him credit. So when you feel overwhelmed, do what you need to stay well. And we're trying to stay whelmed. So with that, I'll entertain questions and maybe or comments or reactions.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Trustee Love?
Thank you. That was an excellent presentation. I appreciate all the research. I didn't know a lot of those things, and you did a lot of homework, so thank you. Would love to keep hearing about this. I was just a couple quick things. You answered a lot of the things that I had in my mind. There was a note that ESSER funds and other things were frozen last week by the states. I know it was hitting some states heavily, maybe California not that much. Does that impact us currently?
You know, I have not heard about the ESSER funds, but I will certainly take note of it, and perhaps we can get that information to you.
It's not a big thing. It was Massachusetts, I think, was really impacted. It was all over the news like earlier over the weekend, maybe. I was also curious about, so Medicaid is a big thing, like we care about the whole child. So not just funds that go through the education department, but serious impact there. I think, was it a $6 billion maybe shortfall for the state of California, and then how that's going to play out for our children and family. Not that you can answer anything on it. It's just heartbreaking, again, like that we're going through this. And then meanwhile, we see that the Department of Education is investigating California's Department of Education over its health programs. Like, who is left in the Department of Education to conduct all of this research and file all these complaints? It's just mind-boggling to me. So that's just a comment. And I was just curious, is the tobacco tax down just because people aren't smoking, or did the
That-
administration do
That
something?
is my understanding that, and I believe there's a presentation where that statement was made, that there's less people smoking, which is a good thing, but then the tax revenue is less.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. And first of all, just like, thank you for doing all the research and for all of you for continuing to just hold the ship steady. Because this is really, I'll be polite and say this is really hard. But I had two specific comments besides just that. One is that I remember clearly this would have been the late 80s, early 90s, when we had raids, ice raid, well, they weren't ice at the time, but La Migra. We had raids. I live in an agricultural area. You can imagine what that looked like. We had families separated. I knew children then who are adults in the community now who went to live with friends and distant relatives who were in this country because their own families were gone while they were at school one day. There's no way that you can expect children to be sane and to be studying. And I don't know what we do about that other than, I mean, I can share with you privately some of the things we did about it back then. But just that there's a need for that sort of mental health scaffolding now more than ever. And it's not just the kids whose families are being deported, it's the friends of those kids and the teachers of those kids. And it's hard. And then just the last thing was just a request around messaging. There's so much rumor right now. And because things are moving quickly, it is a roller coaster. And then there's rumors that come out that, I mean, here's an example. A few weeks ago, there were all kinds of rumors flying that people saw ICE vehicles. They saw vehicles within, and the panic that ensued in my town, I'm sure elsewhere too, but was just insane. And as it turned out, they weren't even there that time. At people interpreting, well, oh, the Department of Education's being dismantled, so therefore the schools are shutting. What are we going to do with our kids? You know, just that sort of. So as much as we can do messaging to kind of clarify things for people, and I don't mean down to the detail level that you just did for us, but just to sort of clarify for people, this is what this means. This is what this doesn't mean. Yeah, we're still going to have schools for your kids to go to. Yeah, we're still going to have, you know, these programs, and see, maybe some other things are going to be. So that's just my request, is that we work really hard on messaging so that the public has some handle on what's going on. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we have been doing some really good work, targeted work, specifically in this area, where right now, actually, Ruby McCarrig, our coordinator for community partnerships, she's partnering with Faith in Action. And so we're doing a series of community events where this messaging is being delivered, along with some strategies that families can use, like the rapid response in case they number in case they see or hear about agents. Yeah, so that's happening, and we will continue to do that. It was very that the message that President Torres and Superintendent McGee sent out was very helpful because it landed in the community, and so we've received some positive feedback from that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Arias?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for this presentation. It's so needed. And I think just following up with what was said, Faith in Action, I've been present in several of their presentations, and I'm so glad that you're connected with them. I like how they also talk about having a plan, right? Because this is a reality. So having a plan, plan A, B. But one question I had just, you mentioned about the San Mateo County districts have protocols to support. I heard a little bit of like hesitant to say all of the districts or all of the schools. Is there some that don't? That
What I recall is that there was a board policy that was recommended by the California Department of Education as well as the California School Boards Association, and a lot of our school districts adopted it, and it's in there. Some of the feedback, and I haven't checked recently to see if all of them. That's why I kind of hesitated. Was that in some communities it wasn't as needed to have a protocol because because of the demographics that they served. However, I could go back and check to see if they have now all of them, but I know that the superintendents were very engaged in it and very supportive.
Other comments or questions? Well, thank you to Trustee Love for asking to bring this to the board. I think it was very helpful, and just your delivery allowed me to process it well. Thank you for pausing and not just keep going, because then I wouldn't be able to process it well. My only question, I think, was in regard to like the immigration enforcement, and I'm sure our school districts are providing the mental health services that they need for our students, especially with the heightened like stress, anxiety, and fear. Do you know if there's been, I know there's been an increase, but have any districts reached a level where they're at capacity and they need more support? And then what are we doing to ensure our staff also are getting the same resources that our students would be
Yeah.
getting?
I appreciate the question, and I would probably could bring that information back. I know personally I haven't heard that there is that districts have reached capacity, but I know that in our Safe and Supportive Schools team, they are out supporting and to your point about staff, there is a need to connect and engage the staff in processing a lot of these anxieties that they're also feeling as a result of what their families are feeling. So I know that our Safe and Supportive Schools teams are very engaged in that space. Yeah.
Thank you. And then my only request would be after April 28th, once that plan is out, if we could get an update after, whenever feasible. I know it's going to take time and research, but I appreciate all your work for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the public?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I do not see any hands raised.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 6B, Heather Logan, Principal Early Childhood Education and Related Services, and Ellen Paulino, Principal Special Services, will provide an update on school programs at the Ann Campbell Center for Children and Families and Special Services. Principal Logan and Principal Paulino.
Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. My name is Ellen Paulino, and I'm the principal at Special Services K-22 program. And here's my colleague, Heather Logan, principal for ACC and Early Childhood program. We are here today to present update on our school programs.
So just a reminder, some of what we're talking about tonight is grounded in the strategic plan that we developed in the 22-23 school year, and looking at 3 areas: behavioral, social, emotional, and academic. We have our nice roadmap of where we started, looking at adult SEL, focusing on professional development, really focusing on professional learning communities at our sites to review data and increase student performance by changing the practices that we do implement.
So currently, at our special services program, I just wanted to share with you the numbers of classrooms we have currently. We serve students from different districts within San Mateo County, supporting students with autism and individual intellectual disabilities, all the way to multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment. We serve students, if you can go back, Heather, real quick. We serve students starting at kindergarten all the way to adult transition program, ages 22. So our staffing overview, we have about 7 teachers currently. 4 of them are teaching kids with autism and individual intellectual disabilities. We have 3 teachers teaching multiple disabilities and orthopedic impairment. We have 1 behavioral school psychologist, 29 paraeducators, 1 training assistant, and 2 school nurses, as well as 3 registered behavior technicians. Currently, we serve about 13 districts within San Mateo. One of the new districts this school year is from Brisbane, and so we're happy to serve them this school year. I wanted to share with you some of our instructional areas within both our school sites, Palos Verdes and El Portal. So this is our independent living environment, and our 2 classrooms who serves our students in an adult transition program, as well as in our combo class of high school and transition and the multiple disabilities, use this as part of their daily instruction. I wanted to share with you that in the independent living space is sort of like the mock-up apartment, where it has a living room, dining area, even a kitchen and all that. And it's a good opportunity to learn life skills for our students. Here's another instructional space. It's our student union and micro business. So the micro business kind of simulate an office space with different areas that our students can learn about all areas of work, from book binding to lamination and all that. And our student union mock-up kind of simulates a college student union, where they're able to have their lunch area there and leisure activities as well. One of the new instructional space that we opened up this school year, actually we just opened it this springtime, is our multimedia center. And we call it a multimedia center because it has different spaces where our students can use the space to go outside of their classroom, but still learn about the different things that they're learning in the classroom. So we have an area for reading, we have area for technology, as well as leisure area. And in between that is our interactive TV, where teachers can still teach our curriculum in that space as well. We also have both sites, both Palos Verdes and El Portal, have sensory and art rooms as well. And then here's our outdoor learning area, where we have adapted equipment for our students to play. We also have a track and then a space where teachers can do their lessons outside when the weather is wonderful and the sun is out. And then in that space, we also have our garden area, where each classroom has their own plot where they grow their vegetables. Okay, yeah. So here is our, I wanted to share with you our update on the strategic plan goal on our academics. And I wanted to highlight our data, and our data is as of March 3rd, 2025. So it's hot off the press. And I wanted to just highlight some key takeaways. that 80%, there's an 80% increase in post-test scores from our pre-test. That's a huge, huge improvement. There's also 100% active students have mastered at least one lesson with an upward trend in a weekly session minutes. With 40 students currently enrolled, there's about 1,000 lessons mastered by students this year to date. So this is a huge achievement, not only by our students, but also for the wonderful staff that we have at K-22 because of their passion, dedication, and hard work to ensure that quality programming is provided for our students. So some pictures that I wanted to share are in action pictures where based on the data, this is our day-to-day thing that's happening. We still have our pop-up market that's happening. And what we've done this school year is we actually just did three pop-up markets where we combined different events. So the first one was about holidays. The second one is another for winter holidays. And then February was about Valentine's Day, and one coming up in May is all about celebration, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and graduation. So, and our students learn different skills in preparation when they go out into the adult program. One picture that I want to highlight here is our staff doing collaborative work, discussing data to guide their instruction and have meaningful participation so that our students are guided daily in the classrooms. We also have collaborative work where teachers are able to partner up with their colleagues to look at their instruction and also their lesson plans to ensure that they're sharing and tweaking along the way if needed, and just sharing best practices that they can implement in their classroom. Down below are some of our students in action using our curriculum and also, as well as interactive TVs. So this school year, we were provided with interactive TVs, and it has changed our students' participation and engagement, where we're seeing so much progress in that area as well. For behavioral update, so if you can see in the middle, last school year, we started our program support phase change plan. Last school year, we were doing phase 1, where we were highly providing staff with professional developments, ensuring what supports are needed in the classroom. This year, we are on phase 2, and it's all about system supports. So we want to look at the changes and improvements that we have done in phase 1 and what we can do more in phase 2. And currently, what we're doing differently this school year is the professional development we're offering our paraeducators. So with the leadership of our behavioral psychologist, Tracy Bonaduce, we implemented Affirm modules, which is online training that our paraeducators can take. And once they complete a module, and we have, I think, did 4 modules this school year, is they come together as a team and discuss what they have learned, and then look at what strategies and best practices that they could take away, that they took away from that training and implement in the classroom. And it's highly collaborative, and it's wonderful to see some of the actions being implemented. She also collaborated with our behavior team regarding implementation of a behavioral intervention cheat sheet. So if in an IEP, there's about 5 to 7 pages of a behavior intervention plan, and it's hard to read when you're trying to implement consistently and also with fidelity. So what we have done this school year with her support is a 1-pager where they can just reference to on a daily so that they can ensure they're providing best practices and the action plans written on the IEP. They've also, with the behavior team, they've also curated some portable and accessible visuals for our students and staff members that they could use to provide support for all our students. For our social emotional learning, so if you see on your left hand, this is an interactive board that, again, in collaboration with Tracy. This is an interactive SEL board. Last school year, our theme was about teamwork. This school year is all about growth mindset. Students are able to access this as well as staff members. They're able to see what a growth mindset look like in the student perspective as well as an adult perspective. In addition to that, this school year, especially, we launched it this spring, is the implementation of the Ninja Life Hacks, which is a social emotional learning. This is brand new to us as we are exploring and researching a new curriculum that we could use in our program. So the expectation this school year is to have them try out in their classroom, gather data, come back in May, see what is happening, and we can take a look at if this is the right curriculum for us, or do we need to tweak it and explore more. We will give you more information as we think this school year and give feedback. But the expectation is we're researching to see if what right curriculum can we use for social emotional learning. I just wanted to highlight that this progress at Special Education Services is without a doubt through the collaboration and dedication of our wonderful staff, from teachers all the way to support staff at K-22. We can take questions after Heather.
So I'm also going to provide a highlight of the staff at my site. Just for reference, I do have multiple programs and multiple different groups of service providers who are outward facing to all the districts in our county. So it's going to look a little differently than Ellen's presentation. Currently on staff, I have 10 related service providers, which include adaptive PE, teachers for the visually impaired, and orientation and mobility specialists. I have 3 teachers of the deaf who support both our Early Start program, which is birth to 3, as well as one of our staff provide itinerant services now to districts, which is new this year. It's something districts have been asking for. In our inclusive state preschool program, which is new, we have 2 general education permitted teachers. We have 1 itinerant early childhood special education teacher who is both embedded in the state preschool. She is also outward facing, providing itinerant services to preschoolers in district placements, but typically in a general education setting, which again is new. We this year also, gosh, it's a lot. We opened at the request of districts, a program for preschoolers who have multiple disabilities. So that, again, new teacher, new program, and looking at referrals for that as well. And then again, our itinerant ECSE teacher is also a new position this year. And I finally have 2 full-time itinerant paraeducators, which is really exciting. Before I start, I do want to acknowledge that I think about 20 of our staff are logged in online today. We also have staff sitting in the audience. And so I just want to recognize that none of this can be done without them. And if I get a little teary-eyed, it's, I have the most amazing staff. So as you know, we've been doing a lot of work with Dr. Lori Watson on anti-racism. And in both leadership seminars, we've participated in dialogue and activities as she's led us through the work. as well as school programs, have had sessions with Dr. Watson. I believe this is the second year we've had them. And so realizing, and kind of to Marco's presentation, the state that we are kind of living in right now. And one of my strategic plan goals was around developing the CASEL competencies in our staff. So really looking at the social and emotional learning of our staff. And really, this is really important to our social and emotional well-being. And so we as a group decided to kind of embark on this journey together in our staff meetings once a month. It's new, but I'd like to share with you some of the learnings that we've had. So one of the things we realized is there's a lot of vocabulary, even when we begin the work and talking about anti-racism. And so we decided to kind of explore the vocabulary and in that process, talk about experiences we've lived or things that we're seeing in our communities. You could have heard a pin drop in these staff meetings that we've held. Lots of emotion, vulnerability. So staff being really transparent about experiences they've had. Had a staff member who shared that when she first came, she was shocked at how many white people work in our organization. So, you know, and as a white woman, things I don't always think about. And so the vulnerability of our staff to really talk about these hard issues in a thoughtful way, really, it not only brought us together as a group, but I think it helps us try to forge a path forward. I have created a staff survey that will be sent out at the end of the week so that I can learn from them, how has this been? And where do we need to go? Because I can't be the only voice at the table deciding how we do this work. And we have such a diverse group of educators that calling forward those leaders is also very important. Okay, so this is where I'm going to spend my time. And I have to give a lot of credit to multiple departments across our agency because this just didn't happen overnight. And there is the timeline. Essentially, the inclusive preschool has been in the works for about 7 years. It started with an initial design day 7 years ago, and different things happened that didn't allow us to move forward at that time. COVID came, and I believe, I wasn't here at the time, but we kind of went back to the drawing board of how are we going to open a quality inclusive preschool program? And so, you know, the first places it started were with facilities, and I will highlight those things. Early learning was instrumental in getting us licensed. Classrooms, anything and everything with licensing, state preschool, all the rules, they really are the experts here on site. And so early on at the very beginning, they helped create the foundation from which we were able to move. I'm happy to report that we currently do have 10 students in our program, which I will speak about a little later. But it really was, you know, even just finding staff was quite a challenge because there aren't a lot of people going into education, and finding highly qualified teachers willing to go on the journey with me. It took some finding. We had our first 2 students September of 23, and we stayed at low enrollment for quite a while. For those of you who've been on the board for a while, every year I come and I report this, and all of a sudden everything has changed. So with that, looking at facilities, one of the overarching goals that came out of the design day, and that's what I will speak to now, is around how do we create environments that are accessible to anybody who walks through the door. And so facilities, business, custodial maintenance staff did a huge undertaking during COVID to completely remodel our facility, including cleaning the floors. We have new windows. We have a lighting system that can be controlled by an application. So if you have students who, for example, are visually impaired, being able to control the lighting, cabinetry, general health and safety, which is always the focus of licensing guidelines for state preschool. So making sure our bathrooms are in working order. And again, and even to this day, Rich, he's a phone call away. And I can never thank him enough for what he does and how responsive he is to whatever we need for kids. The second goal was either hosting a model high quality inclusive preschool or building one. And option A did not come to pass. And so option B came to be. And again, that's where early learning was really instrumental in, for example, Cheryl Chan helping with job descriptions, salary schedules, parent handbooks, so many things. SMCOE had never done this before. I had never done this before. And without them, I wouldn't have had the learning that I've had. And so our program now consists of, we have a contract for 8 California State Preschool subsidized spaces. We currently have 6 students enrolled. So remarkable, again, in contrast to last year. We also, part of the vision for this program was that we would also have places for districts to place their preschoolers, because the continuum of options is pretty limited in districts. You either receive no services or you're put into a class with a variety of students with disabilities that may or may not be a good fit for you. And so we, in January, accepted 4 students from Belmont Redwood Shores. And I now have districts knocking on the door to come in, but we're trying to limit that so that we have a good ratio of general education students with students with disabilities. One of the other highlights, just looking at the inclusive program, is that next door, where our student with who's multiply disabled, she is in our general education preschool a third of her day. So she is part of activities, circle time. They rotate between the 2 classes. So one day they're in the state preschool, the other day they're in her class. Our students have become little leaders. So seek her out. They read to her. They played red light, green light last week. So, and you can't force that, right? Kids are these little beings who just embrace everybody. And it really is, you just feel it when you walk into the classroom. We also, as part of this and really thinking about high quality inclusive program, also incorporates families, because it's not one or the other, it's a both and. And so I do want to highlight, there's a picture to my bottom right, which is our student who is part of our STC program, and her family wanted to celebrate her birthday. And so the grandparents came, the parents came, we had parents from other students in the classroom, and what they shared in tears, this was the first time they ever had a birthday celebration for their 6-year-old daughter. Again, just, and my staff welcome it and embrace it, and welcome the families to come in so that they feel a part of what we're doing with their children. You can also see, and the nice thing is that when you look at the pictures, you don't know who is who, right? And that has taken a tremendous amount of support from our itinerant ECSE teacher, our general education teachers. They plan every other Wednesday. They have the whole entire afternoon where they're planning together, building materials. The curriculum and lesson plans are the same for each class. It's just adapted based on your need. And so again, and it's seamless. Everybody works with every child. It's not, oh, well, they're yours. You don't know the difference. And this is where it gets really exciting. And this is my first time ever going through these. So part of being part of this state preschool program, we have outside evaluators who come in and use measures to evaluate, are we providing a high quality program? And so from January till about the middle of March, a series of people came in, independent. They don't know us, they don't know me, they don't have a lot of background about our program. And they use these observation tools to score us. And not knowing any better, I didn't realize how good our scores are. And so there's the Quality Count San Mateo, which looks at 6 different elements. The rubric is there on the right, but it's looking at teacher interactions, what does the environment look like, so on and so forth. And we received a 30 out of 30. Yeah. And I didn't realize how amazing and rare that is until some of the outside professionals that we also work with said, that's unheard of. What do you mean? Of course we get A's. Nonetheless, it really is remarkable. First time ever doing it. Jenny and Olga, who are our state preschool teachers who really are the experts in this, they were even surprised at Heather, people don't get these scores. So that's one piece of the element that it's just outstanding. And I know it's true to the desire of when this program was, before it was even born, that was the whole goal, is let's have a quality program. So then the second data piece is an assessment called the class. And again, it's looking at very targeted instructional. So they're observing certain chunks of time throughout the day, really looking at how are you interacting with children? Are you providing emotional safety? What does your language modeling look like? And again, our scores were very much outside of the norm. In social emotional, we received a 6.88 out of 7. For the environment, so organization, the materials, everything that the staff has really put a lot of energy into, we received a 6.92 out of 7, unheard of. And then the instructional piece, which is at the bottom, which is a 4.5, again, still within the average range. However, when I read through the comments, because the rater doesn't truly know the dynamic and the makeup of our classroom, a lot of the feedback was around, for example, asking open-ended questions. Well, we know with children who maybe use a talker or who are learning some early level language skills, asking open-ended questions isn't helpful. And so the structured support and allow every child to participate is the piece she didn't have as to why everything was so scaffolded depending upon who you are in the seat. So again, but still very remarkable that we achieve such high scores in such a short amount of time, with enrollment doubling in January. And our staff have just really put just such an amazing amount of effort into this. The other piece that's happening is something called embedded instruction. And it's really looking at how do special education and general education teachers work together. And so we have a coach who's been meeting with Marydell and Jenny Lamb, who's one of our state preschool teachers. And I think it was last week, Holly came and shared with the team that when you walk in, it's seamless. The teachers don't even have to, they can look at you and you know what your next move is. And just the collaboration and the relationship that they have with one another in service of students is really evident, even to somebody who doesn't really know the dynamics in the classroom. So multiple outside people commenting on how well run our program is, and our scores obviously speak for themselves. Additionally, I don't know. I'm going to stick with this slide for just a minute. One of the overarching goals, and Nancy, I'm going to speak on your behalf, was how do we create a model program so that other districts can replicate what we're doing? And I thought for sure it would be another 2 years before we got there. But with districts hearing that we have a program, coming to see our program, I now have weekly emails from districts saying, can we place our students in your program in the inclusive preschool? But also both San Carlos and South San Francisco Unified want to come back and meet with me to start talking about how to do what we're doing. So in a way, we've kind of reached such an amazing point of we've hit all the goals, and now we're moving forward to really be a support to districts. And the great thing is with Marydell, she actually can go into districts and say, here's how we did it, and provide the coaching and the collaboration that's needed so districts can also do this work. Because it is I sat in a SELPA meeting last month and I was in a preschool group, and districts are struggling because there isn't a true continuum of services for preschool. So we are definitely headed in such an amazing direction. One of the last goals was really looking at family engagement, because again, they are a critical component to our program. We do parent education, both from the early start team, but also through state preschool, we are required to host parent education. what we decided as a site is we're going to do it all together. So Early Start is seamless with state preschool, and that our parent events, everybody is welcome. Back to school night, both programs are welcome. And just for context, in our Early Start program, we do have 63 students enrolled, so it's a large number. We had Santa Claus and a holiday party. We're doing a spring symposium with vendors coming on site. And so it really has been a great way for families to connect with each other, but then also seek out information that they might need. We've also sent surveys to families to find out what do you, I don't know what they need. I need their feedback so that we can develop appropriate parent education series. One of the things we are also required to do is through the DRDP, there's a parent survey. We do a program self-evaluation that started in January. And we have to give surveys to families. And while I recognize it's a small sample of 6 of 6 families reported very satisfied across the board for every category. So again, outside professionals acknowledging what great work, families, and then you feel it with the kids and the progress that they're making. And we do have 2 SMCOE staff members who have their children enrolled in our program as well. So again, here's some photos. I did a potty training talk a couple of weeks ago because that's relevant. There's a picture from our Halloween, back to school night. You know, our interpreters, our translators attend every outing so that language access is provided to any family who arrives. We also have taken families. So for example, for Early Start, one of the questions they often have are, what other programs are out there that could serve my child? So for example, California School for the Deaf operates programs. And so my staff will take families to go tour these programs just so that they can see what's available. There's Weingarten Children's Center in Redwood City that we've also taken families to go see because it is our job to educate them, not withhold from them the information they have. And as a team, we've really worked to identify what are all the things we need to share and what is the manner in which we share it so that we're calibrated when we are providing information. I think that's enough. So looking forward to next steps. While our contract currently is only for 8 spaces for the state preschool, we are looking to increase both our contract size and our enrollment. And so I am working with a consultant who has years of expertise in building fee-based structures. So parents who maybe aren't eligible for reduced cost care, but can also access care because they have the means to fund that service for their child. And so really building that out, but also looking at how are we getting the message out to families in our area? Because we kind of are tucked away, you know, up there off 92 and 280. And so really working with her on visibility, including claiming a Google map and a Google site, like things I didn't know existed. We are working on it and making progress on those things as well. Also just thinking about working with our new executive director of communications around what SMCOE marketing we also can do to increase our visibility. The collaboration with district partners, you know, I imagine probably over the summer and then into next year, we'll be working with them to help build their own programs. And then also looking back at the extensive needs preschool, ensuring that we are increasing our enrollment there. We actually have a new student starting in a week. So it's coming, and I think more than I would have ever expected at this phase of the growth. And then lastly, but really important, we, with my group of teachers for the visually impaired, we a year ago decided that we were going to apply to be presenters at the CTE BVI conference, which actually is next week. And both of our proposals were accepted. And so one of our staff who has now transitioned to California School for the Blind, because of my background as a behaviorist, I support my staff often with behavior, just challenges and what to do and how to teach social skills. And so Cindy and I are doing a presentation on integrating behavior supports and making them accessible for students with visual impairments. And then Megan Berry, her proposal was also accepted, and she's kind of our tech guru. And so she's doing a presentation on accessibility features on iPads. Yeah, so just pretty amazing that we really are continuing to move forward and educate as many people who are touching, students' lives and making an impact, and figure out how can we support them as well in this work. Okay.
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. I can't tell you how much I needed that this week. You're doing such wonderful work, and just even in our brief visit, you could just feel the climate there. So, but I actually have a very specific question. Very rarely do we get a report from anybody in any division where a ton of staff gives up their evening to come support you. Would you mind telling us who's here?
Yes. I'm gonna read it. So Meridel Remit is our ECS teacher. Husband is George Remit, our teacher at Canyon Oaks. So
George.
there's that connection. And then online, we have Modell Anderson, who helps Ellen and I think things through and figure out what direction we're going in. And of course, Sarah and Chris, our colleagues in our department, our admin assistants, teachers. My mom is here. I had to say that. Made me nervous. Yeah. So, and Ellen, I think, Janice and just everybody online.
And who are these people?
Modell.
Is it Modell?
Modell. She's that.
Or Modell we've met. Yes, we have met. And you have other of your teachers and staff?
Yes. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Trustee Gerard?
Yes, I really have more comment than questions, but it was, as Trustee Alvaro said, so heartwarming and exciting to hear this report. When we visited, and it was here, we had this facility with no students and no teachers, and now you've built it up and you're building further and further, and it is so exciting. And I know you all do a fabulous job. It's so much fun to come and visit and sit on the floor with the kids. I have to use a chair now, but and be able to participate and watch them, and they get so excited and so involved. And there's such wonderful programs. So thank you all for all the hard work you do. It's, really exciting to see it go from absolutely nothing and having built to what it is now. So thank you all so much.
Trustee Arias?
Thank you. Well, I wanted to really commend, and probably just as excited I am, different hats I wear. I'm a parent of a 33-year-old man who has gone through the whole, from preschool to his now adulthood, through all these programs, but never did he in his preschool time was able to participate in what you have done. And I think what's amazing is also how, and I took some notes, that universal design for learning that you're creating, that inclusion, and the 30 out of 30 score is like amazing. You're just starting this program and also modeling for other districts. I think this that's such an important thing because when you create something that is working and that is amazing for students and families, and you share that model so that it continues, it just creates that ripple effect where all of the families and students will benefit from that. And to all of those in Zoom and present here, as a special education teacher of transition students, I'm so delighted to know that you're here supporting your principals and the program and for all the work that you do. So thank you.
Trustee Benini?
I also just want to express my gratitude. As Trustee Gerard said, when I was able to visit last, it was amazing. You know, we did get to see some of the preschool classrooms, but there were these beautiful classrooms that no students were in yet. And so just to see the growth and also to see how dedicated everyone is sort of making that work, it's really impressive. And thank you everyone for being here. I mean, that's a true testament, honestly, as Trustee Alvaro said, you know, that everyone's here. And to the K through 22, I don't have any questions, but I was grateful that on the last time that I was able to visit, we kind of saw the start of some of the curriculum and just how, you know, how dedicated everyone is seeing those learning spaces. And it was really great to also see the new spaces, the multimedia space. For those, you know, new trustees who haven't visited, it's a must see in terms of like the living spaces and just the space where, you know, you can do the micro businesses. It's all amazing. So thank you so much. And thank you for the report. It was truly awesome. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Love?
Just going to second everything everyone said. Totally amazing. And everybody, if you haven't been there, should go visit. Programs are great. It's amazing what Passion can do. I did have one question for you, Ms. Paulino. Have we sort of hit a stable point with enrollment, do you think now? What are your sort of projections going forward? Is the program going to expand, contract, or what are your thoughts on that?
So currently, as of we speak, we have 11 referrals that's coming on our way. Yes, we have about 40 students currently. We do have exiting students because they're aging out of our program. But as of this date, we have 11 referrals that are sitting on my desk and we're reviewing them. Do I think that it's growing? I think so. There's definitely a need for students that we are currently serving to be in our program. And we will continue to update as we move forward with the school year.
Thank you.
Trustee O'Neill? No. So normally I enjoy going last because everyone asks all my questions, but I really wanted to go first to just highlight how proud I am of you, both of you and your teams for showing up. I loved seeing the pictures. I can see the joy, I can feel it. And even during your presentations and you speaking about everything, your heart is so visible. It's beaming through. And I'm just so glad that your leadership is what we have, because we wouldn't be where we are without you and your team. Oh, yes, Trustee
I just
Gerard.
have to make one more comment. It was so much fun to see the students in the pictures and recognize them
Oh,
from when we visited. That was really fun, especially the one little boy that's so friendly.
Yes, I call him the Goodwill Ambassador because no matter, I think he even gave Nancy a tour at some point.
Well, it really was fun. Oh, I know that little girl or that little boy. That was a lot of fun. I just had to say that, sorry.
yeah, no, of course. I did have one question for Principal Logan. Considering that you're looking into offering this to families who could afford it, who aren't eligible financially, do you have an estimated number for enrollment, or is there a goal for enrollment that you have now?
So for that piece of the program, it's driven by the contract that we hold under early learning. So Cheryl's department holds a master contract, if you will, and subcontractors. There are a number of us in the county, maybe 13, who partner with Cheryl and are subcontractors. And so This year, my contract is for 8. My hope is for next school year, it would be for 12. Given how quick, all of a sudden we have students, and we do have another student applying currently. And so I think expanding another 4 spaces to offer 12 subsidized spaces would be the next step. We want to grow slowly as it makes sense, so that because you add students, there's a staff to student ratio. So for licensing health and safety guidelines, that drives everything we do. And so we have to be methodical in the way in which we move forward. So little steps. But we are licensed for 40. So
I'm so glad of the growth and where it's headed, and yeah, really excited to the next time that you're all here. Yes. Are there any comments from the public?
I don't see any comments from the public, but do you know that most of the folks who are attending virtually are either our paraeducators, our teachers, a few office administrators, and it's a mix of staff from all of our programs and Campbell Center, court and community, and special services.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 7A, we have the superintendent's comments. Superintendent McGee, do you have any comments to share?
Yes, I do. And I want to just begin by welcoming Trustee Arias to her first county board meeting. We're so happy to have you joining the board, and really looking forward to getting to know you better and learning from your lived experience and professional career experience as well. So welcome. We're really happy to have you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just want to acknowledge the report on the federal changes in policy. The change in direction from the federal government is definitely serious and concerning. The reduction in force at the Department of Education will definitely impact local programming in different ways. One way in which it will almost immediately impact is in the application of FAFSA applications for financial aid for students who are entering college, and student loan funding. The federal government describes no funding for DEI work, or diversity, equity, inclusion work. But honestly, the truth of the matter is that is the work that is at the heart of all effective education. We all know the research for years and years that tells us that students who sit in school hungry, or feel unsafe, or feel excluded somehow from the school community will not likely to be able to maximize their potential as learners. And if we truly want a high quality education for every student, these things are molded together in ways that you cannot separate. Our local elected leaders, Congressman Kevin Mullen, Senator Josh Becker, and Assembly Member Diane Pappen are holding a gathering at the county center this Saturday from 10:30 to 11:30 as a way of standing up and speaking out for public education. And even though we don't really know specific outcomes of the various executive orders, what's clear is that public education is under attack right now. And now, right now, is the time to stand up and shine the light on how public education is a foundational pillar of an effective and functioning democracy. So I put that out to the public. Anybody who wants to attend and stand up for public education on Saturday, we hope you can make it. Shifting over to other good news, you heard the report from Principal Paulino and Principal Logan about the ways in which their data are showing effective results for student learning. In some cases, and as in the part of licensing, like almost unheard of ratings coming into our programs. But a couple weeks ago, I also mentioned to the county board that the work that our Safe and Supportive Schools team is doing through the positive behavior interventions and supports work had led us to a finalist situation in being named as the Region 4 Technical Assistance Lead. Region 4 is an organization of the counties through the county superintendents, and Region 4 consists of Marin County, Solano, Contra Costa, Alameda, Napa, and San Mateo County. And I'm happy to say or announce tonight that the San Mateo County Office of Education Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports team, under the direct leadership of Coordinator Greg Fry, did earn the award as the regional lead for Region 4. So I honestly thought we had a giant hill to climb because of just the politics that get involved in these kinds of decisions. But they met with our team. We're really a genuine, like, all-in kind of place, a one SMCOE organization. And many people across the organization attended that meeting and advocated for our work. One thing we did in that interview was we did not practice and we did not have a script. We answered questions as they came to us, authentically and organically, as was true for our reality. And I think that the team, the rating team, saw how ready we all are and how connected we all are to the work. So just huge congratulations to Coordinator Fry, to the leadership of the Safe and Supportive Schools team, which includes Executive Director Ben Gonzalez, and of course our great Associate Superintendent leader, Chris Schaus. Without their leadership, we probably wouldn't be in this position. But honestly, we're excited to get busy with the work, and we will be taking on the leadership for Region 4 in this space, which is something to really be proud of, because positive behavior interventions and supports is exactly the thing I was talking about when we talk about public education as a pillar of democracy. In order for kids to be successful, they have to feel honored, valued, seen, heard, a sense of belonging. And this work is really closely connected to all of that. So congratulations to the team. We look forward to bringing you more updates as we proceed with the leadership role. Another set of feedback we received this week was for our court and community school program. I think I shared with you again a couple weeks ago that we had our WASC midterm review, and that was a visit from some of the members of the review team. The actual formal report took a week or two to get, but we just received it this week. So I want to state that the WASC committee indicated through the review, and this is quoting, that SMCOE's LCAP initiatives have led to measurable gains in academics, engagement, and well-being. Ongoing efforts will refine progress tracking, strengthen partnerships, and enhance professional development to sustain student success. The WASC review team also indicated in their report that the presentation of data for the report And the ongoing use of data and review of data is especially impressive because they recognize that it's hard to capture data on students attending classes for shorter periods of time than a traditional school year, in smaller settings with students who have interrupted learning in their history. They further asked us permission during the summation of the visit to share the board reports we've been sharing out with you with other counties, because the court and community data from the report on October 23rd, 2024, they especially picked out that other county offices need a way to set up protocols for student metrics in a way that we're doing it, they feel is much better way to monitor success rather than just using summative data measures that aren't seen until the end of the year and don't really add up to the type of learning environment that we have. So it was a really exceptional report. I will share the actual report with the board tomorrow via email. It's hard, we've been saying this tonight that, all of the folks are together. Like, we are truly living out our vision of one SMCOE, that everybody takes ownership in their roles for our student programs. And that is our curriculum and instruction team, our safe and supportive schools team, obviously our schools team, our facilities and maintenance team, and obviously our leadership team, who kind of orchestrates the whole group. But it is pretty astounding, the level of success we're experiencing right now in feedback on, and I believe a lot of this grounded in our strategic planning process that was led by Associate Superintendent Chris Schaus and Executive Director Sarah Notch. And not only that, but across all of our school programs, if you look at that, the inclusive preschool model taking 7 years to come to fruition, this is really about persistence and committed passion to a strong vision. And so it's nice to experience success. We know we have so much work ahead of us yet to do, but the success feels good, and the staff should feel so proud of how they show up every single day. They've been through many, many changes over the years, but especially since COVID, how do we reemerge from COVID and bring high quality learning back into our programs? And you are seeing in 2025, 5 years later, true results. And success breeds success, but success is no accident. I think I say that a lot. This is intentional, hard, passionate, persistent work that is really all centered on students in the middle. We are focused on students. So congratulations to the team. One last, I probably am missing some updates because I just went on. Today has been like sort of a rant day for me, so I don't know what's happening with my brain, but it's got a lot of words. But I did want to mention that we had an experience with board members where community members came forward to board members, community members and students, asking for support from the county board on a particular issue. And we set that aside because we did more digging. We there's, you know, a lot more to the question. But I think where we need to really go with the county board on when community members come forward or students come forward with requests for support with a particular idea or project, that the board really needs to kind of hammer out a process that they just naturally follow. So we haven't really been doing this kind of work, and I think I would liken that to coming out of COVID, and everything has been so different. We just haven't had a practice of community groups coming forward asking for support for things. So I am going to, I did discuss with President Torres and Vice President Gerard about bringing to the board agenda on April 16th a suggested protocol that the board would follow in the event that community members reach out for support. What's the first thing that you do with that information? How do we expedite it in a way that's timely, that gets the board members all the information they need to weigh in? And so just letting you know that I'm making my own suggestion here for a future board agenda item that you will see coming up on April 16th. And again, I'm probably forgetting some things, but I think that's enough for now, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Superintendent McGee. For item 8A, the draft of the 2025-2026 board meeting calendar is before the board for review. It will be brought back at the next board meeting on April 16th, 2025 for approval. Are there any comments, questions, or suggested edits to the draft of the 2025-2026 board meeting calendar? Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. I just have a question. I'm okay with the dates, but we seem to have drifted from our first and third Wednesday of the month. A couple of months, we're doing the second and fourth Wednesday. And as I said, as long as I know far enough in advance, I'm usually just fine with that. But I just wondered if there was a reason for that.
I can answer that, Trustee Alvaro, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Those meetings are realigned for the Jewish holidays that occur in the fall. So we do not want to have a board meeting that falls on a significant Jewish holiday. And so that is the reason for the different dates.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. As I said, that answers October, but I also noticed it in April and in June. Oh, I know why June is. I know why that is. 'Cause
Yeah, June is because of, we want to
That's-
give our
Yeah,
business team the most amount of time they can to get the budget in the shape that they'd like it.
yeah. Okay, the dates, as I said, are fine with me as long as I know far enough in advance. I was just curious why the change.
Thank you. Trustee O'Neill?
I just had a question regarding the April 24th. I'm fine having a special board budget LCAP study session, but I've been out of the loop for a few years. Does the governor still come out with a May revised budget? Would it not be better to have our budget study session after the May revised versus having it before the May revised? Or is there a reason why we're doing it in April? I'm okay either way. I'm gonna yield to your expertise. I'm just curious, that's all. Thank you.
May I punt that over to Deputy Superintendent Boltema?
Yes.
The impact of the May revise has not been substantial the last few number of years, and the impact to our budget is minimal. So our intent, especially going to a new ERP system, if we could talk to the board about priorities and process earlier, that I think will help us as we're implementing the new system and new budgeting process.
Thank you. Trustee Benini? Oh, sorry. I did have a suggestion. I see that we have our social dinner in July or August. I think it would be beneficial to do our retreat shortly after that. It's definitely before August, before we start the school year. I think it'd be good to just reconvene as a team and just kind of establish where we want to go as a team together. And then leaving November for the governance workshop.
So what you're suggesting, President Torres, is adding a retreat date sometime between the social dinner in July and the board meeting in August 20th. We would have a retreat.
Correct.
Yes. And I know it's hard to come up with dates that are going to meet everybody's needs, but we can come up with a host of possibilities that we can present to the board in a doodle poll for a retreat. And it could be like a 4 to 5 hour retreat in the morning on a Saturday, or it could be a late afternoon into evening retreat on a weekday with that. It would also include dinner. We've done it, the board has done it both ways. And we can come up with dates for either scenario. And hopefully we could land on a date that all board members could attend.
Trustee Alvaro?
Would that preclude the November 5th one?
So I think for November, it says retreat or governance workshop. I'm suggesting that we keep it for the governance workshop and that we just move the retreat before.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Trustee Bonini?
Oh, I just question about the social dinner. I've never seen that on our calendar before, and I'm just curious, usually if we're going to have something social, it would be at a conference or something like that. What does that look like in this
Yeah.
meeting context?
I think this idea came out of the dinner that we had in Anaheim. And it was just really great to have everyone together. And I think especially now that we have new board members, I think it's important to have a setting outside of the regular board agenda meeting. And that's also why I was thinking of doing that before the retreat. So that way we are able to just spend more time together before diving into all the work.
So is it
One thinking too behind it, Trustee Bonini, is while the board dinners will continue to be organized, at the conferences like CSBA, et cetera. Not all the board members are always able to make those events. And so if we had a social dinner, with the meeting agenda, et cetera, in San Mateo County, where it's local and everybody has it on their calendar, it's more likely that all 7 board members could attend and really take full advantage of the opportunity to kind of build build the team up a little bit.
Other comments or questions? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public?
There is no action to take on this item. For item 8B, when an ad hoc subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to their given assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board at this time. Would any board member like to report out? Trustee Bonini?
I just want to report out that the Gateway Subcommittee met on Monday, March 31st. We received some updates about programming and such at both Gateway and Hillcrest. We made a request at that meeting that the report come directly to the board. So rather than me recap that report, I would like it to come to the board. And we were able to get also an update on some of the design work going on at Gateway. And we made a request that the board be a little bit more included in that process. And without going into further detail, that was the crux of it. Thank you.
Trustee Gerard, did you want to add to that?
No, I think that that is a good summary. And I do want to reiterate that we really did want a lot of the information that we received shared with the board because we felt that it would be very helpful for the board to know exactly what the plan is and what is going on at the Court and Community School level.
Thank you. Trustee Lev?
Thank you. The advocacy subcommittee met yesterday. Thank you for joining. That was great. And just a couple updates. We will be bringing 3 pieces of legislation for the board to consider at the next meeting. AB 1224 having to do with extending the period of time for substitute teachers. AB 959 about admin internship programs that could be run by COEs, and AB 927 about increasing the time allowed for Williams reviews. So those will be coming forward. I'm really happy to say that those 3 pieces of legislation were endorsed by the California County Superintendents, as well as the California County Boards of Education, Association of California County Boards of Education. So it was great to have that alignment in place, and it makes complete sense in the subcommittee's mind to bring those forward. And we'll be doing that. Also, the Adequate School Task Force has been doing some work, and Trustee O'Neill, would you like me to just give the notes on? We'll be pulling together an interested school district leaders and to talk about the adequacy or inadequacy of school funding. We'd like to add the San Mateo County School Boards Association leadership to that effort as well. First meeting will be on Monday, April 21st at 6 o'clock. Deputy Superintendent Baltimore will cover school funding, get everybody on the same page with what we're talking about, because it's like everybody has sort of a different opinion. And then there'll be a second meeting, May 19th. And that will be an opportunity to hear from the districts that are impacted, LCFF funded districts that really sort of do the inadequacy. So we're not really comparing districts and saying the disparity among them. Are really just talking about some districts don't have enough funding. So that's kind of a focus there. And then
that meeting is virtually, right?
So the first one's virtual on the 21st. The second one will be held at the San Bruno campus of San Mateo County Office of Education Programs. And then the third meeting will be here, I believe. And that will be kind of a working session. So a lot of things coming up on that. You'll hear from it. And then one of the kind of key questions we have is that Trustee O'Neill has suggested that we go and speak to the district's boards, maybe during the 3-minute comments, that are particularly in this LCFF group, to let them know that we're doing this work and we want their support. So that would include some of the board members here, and I have San Carlos, but Trustee O'Neill, I think, will be reaching out, to Trustee Gerard and Trustee Alvaro, because Cabrillo is a flipper, and we're kind of looking at those as well. So that was a long report, but that's it.
Thank you. Trustee O'Neill, anything to add? Anything to add? Okay, just checking. Are there any other board members that would like to report out? Are there any comments or questions from the board? I served on the Gateway subcommittee and the advocacy one. I just want to say thank you to our chairs for leading that work and just their organization. And then thank you to the county staff that were present that helped with those conversations. I know we had Tammy Moore, Chris Schaus, Sarah Notch, Mary Young, and I hope I didn't miss anybody. I think thank you to the whole team that was there. Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 8C, board members will comment. Trustee Alvaro, you want to start us off?
Okay, thanks. I have a couple things. First of all, welcome officially. Thank you to the Gateway and Court School staff that sent us a lovely card. That was just such a warm thing to see on our desks tonight. So Saturday, I will not be joining all of the elected leaders in Redwood City because it is the first nonprofit day on the coast, and I will be there. And I think there's sort of two sides to this, right? One is the protest and the other is keeping on with the work. So I will be supporting our nonprofits on the coast. I want to give a shout out to the Pumpkin Bots. It's a Half Moon Bay High School robotics team. It was founded about 3 years ago because some students said they wanted it, and they got some volunteer mentors to help out. Boys and Girls Club is the umbrella organization that lets them operate. They placed 6th out of 37 teams at the Silicon Valley Regional, which is pretty amazing considering they were up against some pretty stiff competition. And they got the Rising All-Star Award from the competition. So they are really doing a great job, and I'm very excited for them. And then just lastly, indulge me for a minute. Sometimes you need these things to keep you going. There's a quote by Albert Camus that I love, and I'm going to share it just because of where we are right now. He said, "In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer, and that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back." That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Alvaro. Trustee Arias?
Thank you. Well, first of all, just want to say thank you to everyone for being so welcoming to me. The support, Jen, Superintendent McGee, and everybody else has been amazing. Karen, who just left but helped me with a lot of other paperwork and things behind it. I really appreciate, and it just makes me feel how much of a team and support San Mateo County Office of Education has. So I'm very excited to be part of it. And again, I thank everyone for the welcoming, but also for your vote of confidence in this position. I have 2 other comments real quick. Well, actually one more. I just wanted to say that on March 19, I was absent because I was in Sacramento finishing up what is called Master Plan and Developmental Services. There's a website you can go and take a look at all the information in there. And I'm mentioning it because it's important, as we had this presentation today, many of students who have very extensive needs and special education are served by our Department of Developmental Services. So what came out of April 10, 2024 to March 19, 2025 is 195 pages document with 167 recommendations of 5 work groups. And again, as part of the stakeholder committee members, I feel very honored to be part of that. And it's the reason why I wasn't here on March 19. I wanted to share that in case anybody's interested. You can ask me more questions later. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Benini?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple of reports around the San Mateo County School Boards Association. One is we did have our legislative brunch on April 22nd. And I wanted to especially thank the staff at the county office. John was here to help us with everything, along with Rich, and Karen was helping behind the scenes. And I'm certain there were probably other people helping as well. There was also a large contingent of county office administrators and others who attended, which was great, as well as trustees. So thank you. We had about a little over 50 attendees. We had Congressman Liccardo, Senator Becker, Assemblymember Berman, and Assemblymember Pappen, and I think it went really well. So thank you all for everything that went into that. And then just a note for anyone who may be listening, and also for our board, that the Kent Awards, don't forget, they're on Friday, May 2nd. I hope you'll save the date and I hope you'll be there. We're in the process, Trustee Gerard is on our committee for the Kent Awards. We've been reviewing and we're in the process of starting to schedule visits. And so it's an ongoing process. And also I wanted to welcome you, Arias. It's wonderful to have you here.
Very exciting. Thank you. Trustee Love, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Just a few things. Welcome to Trustee Arias. Very happy you're here. Very honored that you're serving with us. So thank you. And want to thank and congratulate Trustee Benini on that excellent event. It was really well organized and I thought it was effective too. So I know that was a lot of work behind the scenes. So thank you for that. And I wanted to thank Deputy Superintendent Chavez for the report tonight. Really well researched. Appreciate the responsiveness. Awesome. Thank you. It's also Earth Month, and that's an exciting time. We did have a resolution concerning that. I was able to attend the 10-year celebration for the Environmental Solutionary Teacher Fellowship. It was held last week, and that program has impacted 25,000 students in the county, hundreds of teachers, and has won numerous awards. It will be morphing into something different, but it was nice to celebrate the 10 years. Also, another big announcement in this area, that Seeds to Solutions, this environmental curriculum for every grade, K to 12, was submitted, I believe, on the 31st of March, and you can go check it out if you want at seedstosolutions.org, but there's also a link from the county office website. That was an enormous project. The legislature gave $6 million to the county office to work on that project with 10 Strands, and it wouldn't have happened without the partnership with 10 Strands and Superintendent McGee's amazing leadership on that. So it's a huge accomplishment. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee O'Neill.
I also wanted to welcome Trustee Arias. I attended the Oceana Senior Exhibition. It was the first year I did that. And it was really interesting to see some of the topics that these seniors started working on in their junior year and putting on a 20-minute presentation. And some of them are stuff the state legislature would never touch. Okay, they're very, very hot issues, and it was really worthwhile to see the kids. I also attended Farm Day in Half Moon Bay, which is always really fun to go and see the agriculture and the farmers and everything in Half Moon Bay. So I also did that. I also did want to mention the concern was brought up that the estimates at the county, because of the Medicaid cuts from the federal government, the county budget might be taking a hit somewhere in the neighborhood of $700 million for Medicaid, and then about another 130 to 150 because of the vehicle license fee cut or potential. That's still to be decided. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was horrendous.
Thank you. Vice President Gerard.
Thank you very much. I also was at the senior exhibitions at Oceana, and I really want to thank Trustee O'Neill for sending me the information and letting me know about it and letting me have the opportunity to sign up, because it was amazing. I clearly had never done it before either. And I observed two different presentations, and one was on protection for children actors, and the other was on should it be mandatory, should housing be mandatory for everyone? And they were both very, very interesting. And I've already got my hand raised to go next year. I loved it, and I wish I'd have signed up for more than two, but they said, if you're just beginning, don't do more than two. Next year, I'm going to sign up for more because I really, really enjoyed the day. I also attended the Ledge Brunch, and Trustee Benini did an amazing job organizing it. Went like clockwork, very, very interesting. And I think we have a lot of work to do when it comes to education and legislation. I also wanted to mention that ACCBE is having a new board member training on Monday night at 6 o'clock. I believe it's at 6 o'clock. I bet, yes, it is. I'm training, so I better be there on time. But this one is on being an ambassador and an advocate for county offices of education and county boards. And we're going to be talking about what is the difference between the two and what you can do for both. So that will be at 6 o'clock, and the Zoom link will be sent out later this week. And we're also having another presentation. I believe it's on April 24th. And that presentation is going to be on board procedures, actions, and protocol. So that should be another very, very interesting presentation that ACCBE is presenting. So I really want to encourage all of our board members to join us for those presentations, because I can tell you that a lot of work goes into all of them. So thank you very much. And I love the presentations tonight, by the way. Very, very informative. And I thought you did an amazing job on that recap of what's going on with education, because I mean, it makes your head spin trying to figure it all out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bienvenida. I'm glad that you're here and joining us. My apologies for not joining, for not being at the luncheon or the OYA conference. I fell ill that morning, so I was unable to attend both. But I was well rested enough for Wednesday to be at the state capitol, advocating alongside Equality California for the LGBTQIA+ community. Specifically, thank you to Assemblymember Mark Berman for listening to my group and I in regards to AB 908, which is the LIFT Act, which is the LGBTQIA+ Inclusion and Fair Treatment Act in schools, especially given the current political climate, making sure that our students, all students, are feeling safe and secure at school, and that our families feel safe knowing that their students are protected where they're supposed to be, focused on their learning. That is all I have for my comments. Oh, I lied. Thank you to the team. As always, you all do an incredible job, and just very proud to be in the seat and work alongside all of you and our board members. So that concludes my comments. For item 9, we have the adjournment. So the next regular meeting takes place on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And this meeting is now adjourned.
Night, everybody.
Good night.